Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha, Gopinath Shri Radhe, Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha, Gopinath Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivacharya Astutra Satasri Srimad His Divine Grace Aver Chanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय, मथुरा धाम की जय, नवदीप धाम की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय, यमुना माई की जय, सामवे Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutle Srimate Bir Krishna Goswami Niti Namne Namo Hamsa Nikashaya Prabhupada Priyayate Shrudita Shuddhi Nishta Bhem Tasya Vakya Nuvadine. Good morning and Hare Krishna to everyone. Welcome to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class at Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Temple in North Sydney, Australia. Welcome to our Mayapur TV viewers and our viewers on ISKCON Sydney YouTube and Facebook. It's a lovely Monday morning here in Sydney. And coronavirus is still there, so restrictions are still there, slightly easing a little bit, and hopefully your prayers will be answered soon and we can all come to the temple. In the meantime, stay safe and stay healthy. So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is titled Questions by Vidura, and the text is 34. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, 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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Naruttamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay, so text 34. Apishvidaste Bhagavan Sukham Vo. Apishvid Ashte Bhagavan Sukham Vo. Ya Sadvatam Kamadhugo Niruddha. Ya Sadvatam Kamo Dugha Niruddha Yam Amananti Smahi Shabdanuyonim Yam Amananti Smahi Shabdayonim Manomayam Sattva Turiya Tattvam Manomayam Sattva Turiya Tattvam Apishvidaste Bhagavan Sukham Vo Apishvidaste Bhagavan Sukham Vo Ya Sadvatam Kamo Dugo Niruddha Ya Sadvatam Kamo Dugo Niruddha Yam Amananti Smahi Shabdayonim Yam Amananti Smahi Shabdayonim Manomayam Sadva Turiya Tattvam Manomayam Sattva Turiya Tattvam Apishvidaste Bhagavan Sukham Vo Apishvidaste Bhagavan Sukham Vo Ya Sadvatam Kamadugo Niruddha Ya Sadvatam Kamodugo Niruddha Yam Amananti Smahi Shabdam Yonim Yam Amananti Smahi Shabdayonim Manomayam Sattva Turiya Tattvam Manomayam Sattva Turiya Tattvam. So the meanings: Api, as, also, Svit, Veda, Aste, does, He, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Sukham, all happiness, Baha, of you, Yaha, one who, Sattvatam, of the devotees, Kama Dugaha, source of all desires, Aniruddha, the plenary expansion of Aniruddha, Yam, whom, Amananti, they accept, Sma, from your, he, certainly, Shabda Yonim, the cause of Rig Veda, Mana Mayam, creator of the mind, Sattva, transcendental, Turiya, the fourth expansion, Tattvam, principle. So we got the translation and the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So translation, may I inquire whether Aniruddha is doing well? He is the fulfiller of all desires of the pure devotees and has been considered from yore to be the cause of the Rig Veda, the creator of the mind, and the fourth plenary expansion of Vishnu. So let me repeat that. May I inquire whether Aniruddha is doing well? He is the fulfiller of all desires of the pure devotees and has been considered from yore to be the cause of the Rig Veda, the creator of the mind, and the fourth plenary expansion of Vishnu. So the purport, Adi Chaturbhuja, the original expansions from Baladev, are Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyuman, and Aniruddha. So there are four expansions from Baladev. Baladev is Balaram, Lord Balaram, and he is the immediate expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. So from Lord Krishna expands Lord Balaram, and from Lord Balaram there are four expansions, and these are Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyuman, and Aniruddha. Then all of them are Vishnu Tattvas. All of them are Vishnu Tattvas, or non-different personalities of Godhead. In the incarnation of Sri Ram, all these four expansions appeared for particular pastimes. So these four expansions, they mean Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyuman, and Aniruddha. So these four expansions, they came in the incarnation of Sri Ram. Lord Ram is the original Vasudev. So Vasudev became Lord Sri Ram, and his brothers, Lord Sri Ram's brothers, are Sankarshan. Let me get the page. Sankarshan, Pradyuman, and Aniruddha, obviously. And Aniruddha is also the cause of Mahavishnu, from whose breathing the Rig Veda appeared. So just going back on the three brothers. So Lord Sri Ram's brothers were obviously Lakshman, who was Sankarshan, and Bharat and Shatrughan, who were Pradyuman and Aniruddha. So these four expansions came in the epic of Sri Ram, in that dynasty, in that time. Aniruddha, who is also, he's the cause of Mahavishnu, and from whose breathing the Rig Veda appeared. All this is nicely explained in the Markandeya Purana. In the incarnation of Lord Krishna, when Lord Krishna appeared, Aniruddha appeared as the son of the Lord. Lord Krishna, actually, I will read from the Krishna book a little bit, and then you'll know a little bit more about Aniruddha and his activities, his pastimes. This is what this class is all about, so I can explain to you. Lord Krishna has his own pastimes, his own leelas, but his expansions also have their own separate leelas, which is also very, very, very interesting. And so Aniruddha came in the times of Sri Ram, but Aniruddha also came in the time of Lord Sri Krishna. So we'll read a little bit more about Aniruddha a little bit later, but let's complete the purport here. In the incarnation of Lord Krishna, Aniruddha appeared as the son of Lord Krishna in Dwarka is Vasudeva expansion of the original group. The original Lord Krishna never leaves Goloka Vrindavan. The original Lord Krishna never leaves Goloka Vrindavan. He is never separated from his Goloka Vrindavan and his devotees there. And his pastimes is eternal, and he never leaves. It's always going on. And that's really where Srila Prabhupada wants us all to go back to in this life. So we take up Krishna conscious and we chant Hare Krishna and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and we cleanse ourselves of all the sins accumulated over the years of different births, and acquire the love of Godhead. Actually, the love of Godhead is very important to achieve. And when we achieve the love of Godhead, then we leave our material desires behind. In other words, we are no longer interested in material activities and material achievements, acquirements, and we only focus on Krishna, and we love Krishna, and we go back to Godhead, hopefully to Goloka Vrindavan. Not everybody goes there. It depends on the rasa and depends on your spiritual form, basically your spiritual service to Krishna. Some of us might go to Sri Ram's abode, because there is an abode where Lord Sri Ram resides. So we might, our spiritual body might be connected with Lord Ram. There are different planets. There Vaikuntha, there is Lord Narayan, there is Vishnu. There is Lord Krishna in Dwarka. So when we read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, we come to know that there are different expansions of Krishna, and he's got his own abode. And whichever abode we are, whichever form of Lord Vishnu we are connected with in our spiritual form, we will go there. So from the very beginning, this particular bhava is hidden in our hearts, where Lord Krishna resides in the form of Paramatma. And that secret is there, but in order to unlock the secret, we have to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And it sounds very simple. How can somebody chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and unlock the key to our hearts, which will unlock the secret to our spiritual form and spiritual body is a very interesting concept. But we forget that the Mahamantra it contains the absolute power and full form of Lord Krishna himself. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we are uttering Lord Krishna's himself in personified. And imagine the force of Lord Krishna when we say his Mahamantra. He is present in our voice, in sound, in our hearts. He is able to cleanse all the sins that's accumulated in our hearts. He is able to conquer the material desires just by the chanting, because he is present in his names, in the sound vibration. And once he is present in your heart, then he is already present there, but he starts revealing himself. And once he starts revealing himself, then obviously the love of Krishna wakes up within us. And once it wakes up within us, we are able to understand in what regard we are serving Lord Krishna, in what role and responsibility. I mean, I always used to wonder what am I going to do if I have to go back to spiritual kingdom, back to Godhead. Under what capacity would I be there? I mean, what's my job there? Because we all wonder, So we don't all know, actually. Majority of us are still unaware, because if we were aware, we'd be there already. So if you're still down here, we've still got some work to do, some realizations to do. Unless we are unless we are empowered souls sent from there to get souls back to God. And like Srila Prabhupada, he's here. Srila Prabhupada is here to take us all back to Godhead. So he's here for a service. So he's fully realized. He knows what his spiritual form is, his spiritual body, his activities. So unless we are on that platform, there's no way of knowing what what we are, what our capacity is within the spiritual world, we've got to chant and realize that. And once we realize that, then we obviously will no longer be required to stay here in the material world. We'll make our way back to the spiritual Godhead. So let me just complete the purport, and then we can start knowing a little bit about Aniruddha, because this is what this shlok is all about. Vidur is asking Uddhava the well-being of Aniruddha. So the original Lord Krishna never leaves Golokha Vrindavan. All the plenary expansions are one and the same with Vishnu Tattva, and there is no difference in their potency. So all the plenary expansions are one and the same, Vishnu Tattva, and there is no difference in their potency. So that ends the purport. Okay. So we'll do a little bit of Mangal Charan. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutle Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so a little bit of catch up and a little bit background about what's happening here in this shlok. Vidur, who is the brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu, is on a Tirath Yatra because he has been insulted by Duryodhan, the son of Dhritarashtra, and he could no longer stay in that kingdom in his capacity as the advisor of Dhritarashtra, and so he had to leave. So he actually went on Tirath Yatra, and while he was on the Tirath Yatra, like a pilgrimage, the Kurikshetra battle began, and there was a massive war battle in Kurikshetra, and all the sons of Dhritarashtra, except for one, Yuyutsu, every other son, they died, they were killed. Duryodhan was killed, and then the Pandavas, the sons of Pandu, regained their kingdom and came back to the kingdom. And in the meantime, Lord Krishna returned to Dwarka, and then all these leelas happened in Dwarka. And Lord Sri Krishna, I might actually read a little bit of his genealogy, so if we have time, about Lord Krishna's family, because he was a king in Dwarka, and he had his 16,108 wives and children and children's children. So he was a great grandfather. So he had a huge family. And then there was a battle within Lord Krishna's family, and the Vrishnis, and in that party they all got drunk. And they basically beat each other to death. So all of Lord Krishna's, all practically, except for Uddhava, who's surviving, and he's meeting up with Vidur here. Lord Krishna's family, his entire family dies. This is because of the curse of Dhritarashtra's wife, Gandhari, because Gandhari was in lamentation over all her sons which died in the battle. So, and she blamed Lord Krishna for doing this and killing her sons. So she said, all of your clan, all of your basically lineage, all the Vrishnis will also perish and die. So she cursed Lord Krishna's family to die, and they did. Lord Krishna was quite happy because they died. The reason was that he wanted to take them back to Godhead, because when Lord Krishna comes, he brings all of his associates, and when he leaves, he takes them all back with him. And they willingly go and willingly come back. So that's the cycle. So he was looking for an excuse to take everybody back, and Gandhari's curse made sure of that happened. So Vidur while he was on pilgrimage, he heard all this news. He was aware that everybody died, but he was in such shock, so much shock, that he refused to accept it. So he finally came to the banks of Yamuna, and there he met Uddhava. Uddhav is a cousin of Lord Krishna. He survived, and asked Uddhav about the family of Lord Krishna. Now, asking about the family of Lord Krishna, when he knows that they passed away already, they're no longer on this planet, shows that he's under psychological effect, which was earlier mentioned. And he's asking about all of Lord Krishna's family as if they're still living. So here in this particular shlok, he's asking Uddhava about Aniruddha. How is he doing? So Uddhav explains. So I was going to read you a little bit about Lord Krishna's genealogy. If I have time, I'll just see. Let's see. I put on my glasses. Lord Krishna had like 16,108 wives, and each wife, so that's 16,108 wives. They all each had their own palaces and places they reside. And each wife, he had 10 sons out of them, and all of the 10 sons were equal to their father in opulences of strength, beauty, wisdom, fame, wealth, and renunciation. So like father, like son. All the 16,108 wives of Krishna were princesses. They were all princesses. They were very dear to Lord Krishna. And he was equal to all the wives and treated them as a perfect husband. There was no need for even a single wife for him. But he played the Leela just like a normal householder. So that's Krishna. The queens of Dwarka obviously were really fortunate, very fortunate that they had Lord Krishna as their husband, and each wife had hundreds and thousands of maiden servants. So you can imagine the greatness of the family there. Each of them had 10 sons. And the first he had 8 main wives, so we'll read the names out. The first one of the 8 wives was Rukmini. Actually, they were all expansions of Mahalakshmi. So Rukmini Devi is Mahalakshmi herself, goddess of fortune. She had 10 sons. And Praduman was the firstborn, Praduman. Now Praduman's son was actually Aniruddha. So Praduman had a son called Aniruddha, and this is the Aniruddha that's being inquired by Vidur. The other wife was Satyabhama, and then Jambavati, and then his wife Satya, and then he had a wife called Kalindi, Lakshmana, and Mitravinda, and he had a wife another called Bhadra, and the eldest son of Rukmini, the first, the main wife, I guess you could say the main wife, the main one of the 8 main wives of Lord Krishna, Rukmini. She had Praduman as a son. She was married to Mayavati from his very birth, and afterwards he married Rukmavati, the daughter of his maternal uncle Rukmi. So from Rukmi, the daughter of Rukmi. Rukmi is the brother of Rukmini. So Praduman is the son of Rukmini, and Praduman's son is, so Praduman actually marries, so the son of Rukmini marries Rukmini's brother's daughter. It says here, the daughter of his maternal uncle Rukmi. So, and the daughter of Rukmi her name is Rukmavati, and Praduman, they both had a son called Anirudh. So, in this way, Anirudh is Lord Krishna's grandson. So, Vidur is actually inquiring about Lord Krishna's grandson. Krishna's family, his wives along with their sons and grandsons. So the sons also had sons and grandsons. Actually, Rukmi also had a daughter. Everyone combined. So this is, I'm reading from the Krishna book, if anyone's interested. I think it's chapter 61. I haven't looked, but from memory, I'm saying it's chapter 61. All of the families of Lord Krishna combined is like 1 billion. If you can count 1 billion. 1 billion family members. That's how his family was huge, massive. So there's a story that goes on, Lord Krishna's family. Like Rukmi, the elder brother of Krishna's first wife, Rukmini, he was greatly insulted, obviously, because Lord Krishna kidnapped Rukmini, his sister, and got married to her. And then Rukmi always had a grudge against Krishna because stole his sister and married her by force. And then after that, his daughter, Rukmi's daughter, so first his sister was married to Krishna, so his sister was Lord Krishna's wife. Then his daughter was the wife of Lord Krishna's son. So he had to give his daughter, he gave his daughter willingly, by the way. So he was he married his daughter, happily married his daughter to Lord Krishna's son, Praduman. And then Rukmi also had a granddaughter. So his daughter married Praduman, and his granddaughter was married to Praduman's son, Anirudh. So Anirudh married his granddaughter. So his sister, his daughter, and his granddaughter, they were all married off in Lord Krishna's family. So Parikshit Maharaj was quite a bit astonished. So he had it all from Sukadev Goswami. And he said, I'm surprised that Rukmi and Krishna, who were so greatly inimical to one another, could again be united by marital relationships between their descendants. So they were family, even though they had all this fight between themselves. So very interesting. So, so the eldest son of Krishna, which is Praduman, who was born of Rukmini, he was actually Cupid. He was Kamdev. He was so beautiful and attractive that when Rukmi's daughter Rukmavati was having a Swayamvar, she found Praduman so attractive, she went and landed the garland and is around his neck. So she chose him herself in the Swayamvar. Anyway, so Rukmini, who is Lord Krishna, she also had a beautiful daughter. It is said that Lord Krishna had a daughter also, daughter from each wife. But here it's specifically mentioned about Rukmini. And so Rukmini was married, Rukmini's beautiful daughter, she had big eyes. So Lord Krishna's daughter, she had big eyes, and she was married to Kritavarma's son, whose name was Bali. So I'm reading about Lord Krishna's genealogy. And Anirudh was married to Rukmi's granddaughter, like I mentioned before. Her name was Rochana. And so it's not normally done, but in this case it was. And anyway, the whole point is that Lord Krishna had a really, really huge, massive family. And they combined was 1 billion. But we were going to talk a little bit about Anirudh, who he is. Anirudh's story is very interesting, and I thought I'll just quickly mention it. Now, there was a great hero. He was born of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj is the demon who Lord Vaman, Lord Krishna came in the form of Lord Vaman to chastise. So he had 100 sons, and out of the 100 sons, he had a son called Banasura. The eldest, actually, Banasura. So he was an Asur, he was a demon. And Banasur was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And he had like what he did was, he had like Lord Shiva, because he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva granted him 1,000 hands, so he had 1,000 hands. And when Lord Shiva was doing his Tandav Nritya, means when he was dancing, Banasura took his 1,000 hands and he beat the drum so beautifully. So in rhythm, with lots of rhythm, Lord Shiva was really pleased with the way that he served. When Banasur served Lord Shiva when he was dancing, so he granted him a benediction. He said, "What do you want?" And so he said, "Whatever you desire, I can give you." So he said, "Give me shelter of your lotus feet." Banasur said, and please protect me and give me your shelter and always protect me. So Lord Shiva said, "Sure." So now Lord Shiva is protecting Banasur, who's a demon. But what happened was that he was always, because he had 1,000 hands and he was a demon, he had this desire to fight or use his 1,000 arms or something. So Lord Shiva was very displeased with that kind of attitude. He said, "You are a demon, why do you want to fight with all these 1,000? He said, "I'm bored," and whatever it was. So then Lord Shiva was angry and he said, "One day you will meet somebody who will fight with you with the 1,000 hands, and that will be the end of you. So it will be the cause of your destruction. You will be smashed to pieces." Anyway, after hearing Lord Shiva's benediction, actually Banasur was very glad. He was very glad because he was waiting for a good fight with someone. Anyway, then what happened was Banasur had a daughter, and her daughter, his daughter, was very beautiful. Her name was Usha. And Usha, while she was a young girl, of becoming of marriageable age, she had this dream of a young man in her dream who was like a husband, and she was having conjugal relationships, and she was very happy. Anyway, she dreamt. And so when after she woke up, she said, "Please don't go, my beloved," or something like that, and her girlfriends heard. And one of the girlfriends was Chitralekha, who was there. She heard and she said, "What did you say in your dream?" And she said, she was a little bit embarrassed, but she said, "Oh, I had this dream of a young man who was with me, and we were in love. We were in some kind of romance situation. And I don't know who he is, but I'm in love with him." So Chitralekha had this, her friend had this power to draw some pictures. And the way Gurudev says it even in his class was that Chitralekha goes to Facebook and she opens Facebook and gets all the photos out of the Facebook and shows it to Usha. But in reality, actually Chitralekha draws all kinds of men out there, eligible men. And out of them she drew many demigods. She even drew Lord Balram, and she drew Vasudev, Lord Krishna's father. She even drew Lord Krishna and Pradyuman, the Cupid. So when Usha saw all these pictures, she saw Lord Krishna, she said, "You're coming close." When she saw Pradyuman, she was very bashful, embarrassed. And then after that, she drew Aniruddha. As soon as she drew Aniruddha, who's the son of Pradyuman, as we discussed earlier, she was like, "That's the one. That's who I saw in my dream." So then Chitralekha has this interesting powers. She flies overnight, kidnaps Aniruddha in his sleep, so he's still sleeping, brings him over to their kingdom. Now the place was called, I think it was called Shonitapur. If I'm not wrong, let me see somewhere here. Yeah, I think it is called Shonitapur. Anyway, hopefully I'm just compressing everything and telling you because we don't have time to read everything. Anyway, the whole point is that he brings, Chitralekha brings Aniruddha, kidnaps him, and brings him to Usha. And there Usha being a young girl, and they brought up very chaste. But anyway, she relates to Aniruddha, and they fall in love or have some romantic relations and physical relations. So then the guards, and she shows symptoms of a young girl who is no longer a young girl anymore, who is a company of a man. So the guards and people in her palace come to know that Banasur's daughter has someone, a man, in her rooms, and they inform Banasur. So they say that, we've been hearing sounds and your daughter's displaying symptoms of association with a male man. And in the Vedic culture, an unmarried girl having association with the male is the greatest disgrace to the family. So even now, in our Vedic culture, a unmarried girl having that kind of relations is a disgrace, even now. Although it's not so strict, obviously. So the caretakers cautiously informed their master, Banasur, that Usha was showing symptoms indicating a disgraceful association. So Banasur was so shocked to understand that his daughter Usha was no longer chaste, maiden, and this weighed very heavily on his heart. And without delay, he rushed to the palace where Usha was living, and there he saw Usha and Aniruddha were sitting together and talking. So Banasur could understand when he saw the boy, he could understand she couldn't find a more suitable match because he was so beautiful looking. Aniruddha was just like Lord Krishna. So he was kind of glad of his, secretly inside, that his daughter had chosen the right man, but still, he was very, very much angry that, he went there unlawfully. So they had a fight. So, and Aniruddha obviously didn't have any of his weapons there, so they're fighting, and all of the soldiers of the palace, many soldiers of the palace came to fight with Aniruddha. And Aniruddha didn't really have any weapons, so he took hold of a big iron rod and stood up before Banasur and his soldiers, and he firmly took a posture indicating that if he was attacked, he would strike all of the soldiers down to the ground with the iron rod, which he did. He actually defeated all the soldiers. He fought very valiantly, and he defeated with just the iron rod. But he actually broke their heads and legs and arms and thighs. He killed them, actually. So he fought very well. And then Aniruddha tried to escape the palace, but Banasur, he knew of various arts fighting, and by the grace of Lord Shiva, he knew how to arrest his enemy by the use of Nagapash. Nagapasha is a snake noose. Like a noose is like a rope or something, like a snake, in the form of a snake. And he seized Aniruddha because he was blessed by Lord Shiva with that. So Aniruddha was captured. And when Usha came to know about that, she started crying and crying, that her husband, almost like husband, was captured. And then 4 months had passed. Aniruddha was in the, captured. Oh, we are almost coming to the end of the class. Anyway, 4 months later, the family members came to know that Aniruddha had been captured by Banasur. So they found out where he was, and they decided to go and rescue. And so, it was Shonitapur it was known. And so all of them, including Praduman and Satyaki, Gadha, Samba, Sharana, Nanda, Upananda, Bhadra, they all came in many military forces, and they came to rescue Aniruddha. There was a big, huge fight. And that is where the benediction of Banasur came true. His 1,000 hands he fought with everyone. Banasur, and on the other side, Lord Shiva and his family, his sons Kartikeya and Lord Ganesha, they also came to fight on behalf of Banasur, because he promised and he was a devotee. So this is a very amazing story, which we don't really have too much time to go in. But this is the story where Lord Shiva fights with Lord Krishna to protect his devotee. Lord Shiva himself. So all kinds of, Lord Shiva directly fights with Lord Krishna. It was an amazing fight. Even Lord Brahma and all the denizens of the planets, heavenly planets, came to witness it. In the end, obviously, Lord Shiva is defeated by Lord Krishna. So the whole point of the story is that if Lord Krishna wants to kill somebody, nobody can protect them, not even Lord Shiva. In the end, Lord Shiva sends this Shiva Jwar, this weapon called Shiva Jwar, which is excessive heat, like a dozen times hotter than the sun, melts everything. And so Lord Krishna released a weapon called Narayan Jwar, which is excessive cold, and defeated, was going to kill that weapon, Shiva Jwar. So what happened was Shiva Jwar could not be controlled by Lord Shiva, protected by Lord Shiva. He was dying, so the weapon in personification form went to Lord Krishna, bowed down to Lord Krishna, said some beautiful prayers, and took shelter of Lord Krishna and said, please don't kill me, in a short sentence. And Lord Krishna is very pleased with that weapon's prayers, the weapon of excessive heat, Shiva Jwar. And then he smiles and he blesses, and then he does not kill Shiva Jwar. So Shiva Jwar comes under the shelter and protection of Lord Krishna. So there is a story, there's a moral there. If you want to be protected from anything, just take shelter with Krishna. In humility, offer your prayers and you will be protected. And then after that, Lord Shiva, because he had undertaken to protect his devotee Banasur, takes shelter of Lord Shri Krishna, and says, please, don't kill Banasur. By that time, Lord Krishna had cut most of his arms and only had left 4. So Banasur only had 4 arms left out of his 1,000. But he was still alive. And then Lord Shri Krishna is very pleased by Lord Shiva's prayers, and he says, okay, well, I promised Prahlad that because these are asurs, demons coming from Prahlad's family, he said, I'll never be the one killing your family members. So he said, because Banasur is Prahlad Maharaj's family, I can't kill him anyway. So I'll spare his life. In between there, while he was a fight going on, just worth mentioning, he was Banasur was a devotee of an expression of Durga Devi known as Kotara, I think it Kotara. Anyway, she also came to protect Banasur, and in that fight, when Krishna was fighting with Banasur, she decided to, because he was going to kill Banasur, she came and stood there in a full naked glory. She did not have any clothes on, and her hair is all loose, and Lord Krishna turns his head away. He doesn't want to see, and in that regard, in that moment, Banasur was able to escape and go and, recover from all the wounds and everything that Krishna had given him. So, and then he came back the next, after he recovered, he came back to fight to Lord Krishna. Anyway, there's a happy ending to the story. Anirudh is, finally married with great pomp and, happiness, because Banasur has been spared by Lord Krishna, and Lord Shiva returns to his abode after, humbly asking Lord Krishna to protect Banasur. The fight ends there. And Anirudh marries Usha, takes her home, and she's placed in a grand chariot, and they all go with great pomp and glory. So the story ends over there. But this particular pastime is the way Lord Krishna fights with Lord Shiva. It's worth reading. So if you are interested, chapter 62 of the Krishna book. So I think the genealogy chapter would be chapter 60, and then when Usha meets Anirudh, it's 61 and the 62, something like that. So have a read, it's very interesting. So Vidur is asking about that Anirudh, what's happening and how he is. But Anirudh has left the planet already, and Vidur is just in shock. And so when we are in shock, when we left, some beloved has left us, we basically take shelter of Lord Krishna. And we understand that we are the soul, not the body. And the soul leaves the body, and they reside in another form. And if we are lucky, in a spiritual form, and we go back to Godhead. So, okay, so that ends our class. We are a little over by 5 minutes. That's all right. Thank you for listening. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavad Puran ki jai. Hare Krishna.